Thanks very much, Adam. Really moving words there. I think the future of Cornwall Fest and health and wellbeing in Cornwall is absolutely something as individuals, businesses and communities we need to work towards. I'll just start sharing my screen. While I'm doing that, everyone, I just wanted to let you know the theme for today is, as you know, doing well. And one area where I'm not doing so well is last year I had meningitis. So that means I'm slightly neurologically impaired and therefore I don't use camera on video calls. So that might be a bit weird for you. It's a bit weird for me as well, but just so you know, you won't see me on camera today, but we've got some slides I'm going to talk you through today to introduce you to a little bit about how, both with the Camborne Place Shaping project and with my company Make Me a Plan, we've worked on the concept of doing well. And we also have some audience participation planned and some breakout rooms that are kindly going to be facilitated by Adam, Katie and Maria and myself. So I hope you'll enjoy the session. We've got some time factored in for questions as well as that audience participation. So I hope you've all had a hearty breakfast and have come prepared to engage and that you find today's talk useful. So we're going to start with a quick fire question, a special prize for anyone who knows the answer to this. What sentence opened the very first UK leaders debate in the 2010 general election? Does anyone know? This is a bit of a nerdy question, so if you don't, that's fine.
I'm keeping a lookout for all sorts of hands raising and people wanting to jump in.
No, I'm not seeing any hands. Thanks for that, Adam. So basically, the very first line, which is a line that has a huge resonance for me, the way things are is not the way things have to be. Such a simple sentence, right? But it's actually very seldom that we kind of look at our individual actions, our choices, our habits, our cultures from day to day, and really challenge ourselves, you know, whether that's just kind of, you know, eating the food that we know isn't healthy for ourselves, but we're doing it because it's a habit and we, you know, we resort to comfort eating, or whether it's on the kind of grander scale. And, you know, as Adam said in the introduction, in Cornwall, in Camborne, you are more likely to be in ill health, to die earlier than you are to live long and prosperous lives. And you know, how can we as individuals, as businesses and communities work together to change that absolutely shocking fact? So that kind of simple sentence is something that's really informed me as a person, and when I set my own business, Make Me a Plan, a few years ago. So we also believe that the way things are is not the way things have to be. And a little bit about the company. I wanted this company to reflect my own values, and you know, yes, okay, we need to pay the bills, but also, as Adam said, it's not just about making money, it's about kindness, it's about unpaid work, it's about leaving a legacy and improving the areas in which you work. So it's important to us to be a living wage employer, a Cornwall healthy workplace, a disability confident employer, and an Armed Forces Covenant signatory, amongst other things. And we want individuals, businesses and communities to do well. So since I've been running Make Me a Plan for around 3 years now, we've centred our business activities around that. So we work with a number of organisations, excuse me, frog in my throat, including Camborne Business Improvement District, to develop their marketing and promotion strategies for the town. Also work with individuals on their life coaching, fitness, nutrition, aspirational goals. And it's the involvement with BID Camborne that led me to become the chair of the Camborne Town Deal Board last year, and just coming to the end of that sort of 12-month role where we set out how we wanted things to be different for Camborne in the future so that people could do well. A little bit more about Make Me a Plan. We've got lots of projects. We like to keep busy. We're here to make a difference to Camborne, to Cornwall, and to wherever we work. So we have an e-learning platform. We have a European Social Fund project, the Healthy Habits Academy, which seeks to help people who aren't earning or learning to become more confident and able to achieve. we're big fans of taking time away from the screen. So we have our little screen-free super planners who pop onto our social media platforms on every Saturday to tell you to turn your screens off on a Sunday and enjoy the finer things in life. We also run a gender balance initiative, Make Me a Planner, and our invisibility project looks to promote people who have visible or invisible disabilities and give them an equal playing field in our communities. So now, bit of audience participation, number one, because I can't speak, can't get my words out, so need you to. I'm just going to go around the room now, and I'd be really grateful to Adam, if as co-host, if he could call out the roll call as it appears on his screen. So it's just so that we can all have a little bit of an icebreaker and find out how we tick action. And this is one of the sessions we've used in one of our board meetings with the Town Deal board, because I've been keen to make these meetings, you know, not just let's note the minutes of the last meeting and then let's read out some other document. Let's find out how we tick and think about that. So everybody, I really want to know. And I think there's about 29 of us on the call, so I don't have 29 million pounds to give you, I'm afraid, but let's suspend reality a little bit. Would you choose £1 million or an extra year on your life expectancy if I had a magic wand and could give that to you now? And just really quick fire, Adam, if we could go around the room and see what everyone thinks.
Yeah, so you'd like to hear from everyone, right? So I'll
yeah,
start,
just
and
ever
then
so quickly, one by one.
Katie, you'll be up next, and then Maria. I would choose an extra year because I think £1 million would be really bad for my life expectancy. Katie.
Well, I'd actually say the opposite. My background's fundraising, so like I know how far £1 million can go. So I would take the 1 million and probably donate.
Oh, wonderful. Maria, you're up next, and then Edward.
Well, interestingly, my first thought was an extra year on my life expectancy, but then I was thinking, am I at end of life at that time? So actually, if it's just to add another year to my life, I think £1 million, there's so much good I could do with it, and health issues as well around what it is to not have a very good budget for a lot of people. So yeah, I think I could make a difference with £1 million.
Thank you, Maria. Edward, you're up next, and then Hazel.
I'd go for the £1 million because then I could work on my life expectancy and the life expectancy of 1,000 other people.
Beautiful. Thank you, Edward. Hazel, and then Dave.
And I'm so pleased I wasn't the first person. At the risk of sounding like I've got hidden shallows, I would take £1 million because I could do a lot of good with that.
Thank you, Hazel. Dave, you're up next, and then Keith.
I'd take the $1 million because I could increase the life expectancy of a lot of people with £1 million, and I could do a lot better than the £1 billion that Cornwall's had from Europe.
Yeah, make £1 million go a long way. Thanks, Dave. Keith, you're up next, and then Sally, please. You're on mute, I think, at the moment, Keith. Now your video's off. Other button.
Shall I jump in?
Oh, that's a good idea, Sally. Yes.
Right. Yes,
Thanks.
I'd definitely take the £1 million, and like others, I'd spend it to help the life expectancy of other people.
Wonderful.
And maybe children. Yes.
Oh, nice thought. Thank you, Sally.
Yeah.
Keith, are you back with us?
Yes, I share that view. I think it would need to be an active life if it was worth having. And £1 million would undoubtedly make many life expectancies better. So I opt for the $1 million.
Thanks, Keith. Now, Heather, I'm sorry I didn't give you any warning, but you're next on the list, followed by Kirsten, sorry.
Yeah, I'd go for the £1 million and yeah, want to do something good with it, definitely, and feel you've actually made a difference.
By my tally so far, I think I'm the only person who's gone for the year, and everyone else has gone for the £1 million. I'm feeling outnumbered here. Kirsten, you're up next, and then Jackie.
Yeah, highly predictably, yes. There's a theme here. I would also go for the £1 million. I think it would stretch an awfully long way. it increased. I'm sure my own life expectancy would increase, and like everybody else, you'd want to help other people increase theirs too.
Thanks, Kirsten. Jackie Ellis, you're up next, and then Debbie.
I would also go for the £1 million. I think that can do an awful lot of work. I think there's investment needed in this area. I work in Camborne, Poole, Redruth and Iluggan. And I think there's a lot of investment needed in supporting children and young people, particularly in their emotional and physical well-being, to just prepare them for their futures, really.
I don't know if anyone else has come across Paul Hills, who's down Falmouth direction, but he's been on quite a lot of Zoom calls with a new sign language he's invented, for one of which is "I feel you" or I hear you. And I'm feeling that, Jackie. Thank you. Debbie, you're up next, and then Emma.
Yeah, hi everyone. I've completely overthought this. Absolutely. It would really boil down to I started thinking about quality of life and all these other things that go with it. But I think ultimately I'm a natural born helper. So I echo the words of sort of Edward, Sally, Keith and David, and say, I just think of what £1 million could do to other people compared to a year of my life.
Thank you, Debbie. Emma, you're up, and then Sarah Stevens.
I completely echo that. I mean, I don't know what the quality of my life would be at the end of it, but if I could make a difference now, I'd really want to do that, because there's so many things that could be done.
Thank you, Emma. Sarah, you're up, and then Andrew from St Andrews. Sarah Stevens. I can't see you at the moment, Sarah, but we'll go on to Andrew maybe, and then come back to you afterwards.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the majority. It's about quality, not quantity of life for me, so £1 million.
Lovely. Thanks, Andrew. Sarah, are you there? Otherwise, we'll move on to Penn. So we'll hear from Penn LeKelly and then maybe Josh Clark, and we'll come back to Sarah Stevens at the end. Penn, you're up.
Yeah, I already love this group. I love how the non-selfish, like £1 million. I'm sure if you shared this view with another group, it'd be a lot more selfish. So this group is fabulous. And yeah, I go for the million as well and do good.
Lovely. Thank you, Penn. And Josh, you're up next, followed by Ali.
Yeah, I think it'd have to be the £1 million all day. I think they'd do a lot of good in Camborne and Redruth with around this area with £1 million. So yeah, take the money every day.
I'm just imagining, like, if we all sat down and discussed what we do with this £1 million, the amazing ideas that would come, or the experiences of how you've already known and seen it happen. But thank you, Josh. Ali, you're up next, and then Suzanne.
Yeah, I would take the £1 million very simply for all the reasons that everybody's already outlined.
Making it very easy for you. Lovely. Thank you, Ali. Suzanne.
Yeah, I would take the £1 million as a fundraiser. I think it'd be hard not to, especially as I'm struggling to find match funding at the moment. And I think certainly we can improve a lot of people's life expectancy with the £1 million. Absolutely.
Thank you, Suzanne. And I'm just checking the chat to see if there's any other. And Sarah, I don't know if you're back or there at the moment. Otherwise, we're done. I'm wonderfully outnumbered. Anna, back to you.
Oh, thanks, Adam, for helping there. You're not completely outnumbered, because I would also choose the extra year of life expectancy. And interestingly, in the other forums I've done this icebreaker, it's been quite, a lot nearer the 50-50 split. So that was really interesting to hear people choosing the £1 million to make a difference right now. And yeah, my reason for the extra year is because I'm an eternal optimist. So what I could do in a year, I'd like to think might end up having more of a benefit than £1 million. That remains to be seen. And as it's fictional anyway, none of this is being tested out. So thanks everyone for that. It was really interesting to just kind of see how people tick and ask that binary question. We're going to move on to dividing things into a kind of tripartite worldview now. So as I mentioned earlier, we're really focused both with Make Me a Plan and with some of the Camborne development work on how individuals, businesses and communities can benefit. So that's going to be the scaffolding on which we kind of build our reflections and our interactions today. So we're going to talk now about Camborne doing well. As Adam even mentioned in the introduction, we all kind of think of Camborne, if we think of Camborne at all, as a place of past glories. And we were actually lucky to have Kim Conchie come to one of our Camborne Town Deal meetings early on, and he said, you know, guys, wouldn't it be great if you could make Camborne famous again? Because there are some really shocking stats which Adam mentioned that are acute in most areas of Cornwall, and particularly in Camborne. So you know, you're more likely to be in poor physical, mental or financial health than people elsewhere in Cornwall or Great Britain. And something both with my, you know, individual and business interests, and also my colleagues on the town board, felt really strongly that this kind of one-off landmark 25 million investment from the government needs to help the social and the environmental and the community aspects of prosperity. It's not just an economic thing. We're not just counting widgets here. We want to, you know, make Camborne a place where people can feel inspired and want to live, work and play. And so we sort of took ourselves through a little bit of a medical diagnostic exercise, and looked at the kind of history of, you know, Camborne once did well. So what went wrong? We all know that it's the home of Richard Trevithick, a school of mines. Globally, it was once a hotbed of invention and industry. And then, you know, the mining industry declined. And over the last sort of, you know, 40, 50 years, Camborne just slipped down those indices of deprivation and started to rank higher in terms of poverty and lower in terms of aspirations and achievements. And as we know, and as Dave mentioned earlier, with regards to European funding, where Camborne became identified as one of the most deprived areas in Europe. And the symptoms of that we see amongst us in our communities. People are doing less, not just not doing well, doing less, you know, physical and mental health challenges, low life expectancy, low levels of physical activity, high levels of unemployment, reliance on benefits and a lack of well-being. And those of us, you know, who are fortunate enough to be able to, you know, sitting in a Zoom call on our computers, having lofty discussions about this, we need to come together as communities and challenge this and see what we can do about that. And what we concluded with our little diagnostic tool was that, you know, Camborne needs attention. The government has recognised this, and we needed to make Camborne as a health town the crux of our bid at 25 million, so that Camborne can do well again and stop being recognised for being the poor cousin of Camborne, or a place where people don't have a right to do well. I remember when I was at school, I was always told that anyone with any get up and go should get up and get out of Camborne, and actually anyone with any get up and go should help the people in their communities. And I've always felt very strongly that that sort of sense of place and giving something back is something that's important. So the treatment, the prescription for how can Camborne do well again, we wanted to come up with projects that obviously fitted the guidelines for the funding bid, but also complemented each other to help the people of Camborne and more widely, you know, other residents of Cornwall, visitors to the area, to be able to prosper, you know, in my view, socially and environmentally being more important than economic, but obviously with that economic status underpinning it. And we created an organisation called the Deal Makers. So this is basically a lab of local people to test out our ideas. Didn't want to kind of just have your, you know, typical focus groups where you have one session and tick some boxes. So the Deal Makers are recruited from all walks of life in Camborne, and are group to basically hold the board and its ideas to account. And we try to have a bit of fun in there and try it, you know, very much again underpinned by the way things are and not the way things have to be. We're sort of divided into teams. So we had, because it's a town deal, we had a bit of a playing cards themes, tried to make this a bit of fun. We had so we've got team hearts, team spades, team clubs and team diamonds, and the board facilitators and the deal makers work together to say, okay, we've got an idea for this project. Well, you know, how many jobs will that create? You know, will that help poor people? Is there a social prescribing element? And that's been really useful for holding, you know, ideas to account, because a lot of ideas come out of boardrooms. We did a community survey which did have over 1,000 responses, which I was really chuffed with. But again, we need to make sure that these that our projects were kind of held to account by real people and not just somebody filled in a survey once. So we're going to base everything on that. We wanted the conversation to be a kind of living and ongoing dialogue. And this, out of this kind of Camborne doing well conversation, and I'm sorry, this was beautifully in our town investment plan, and then I copied it across into slides and it lost all the formatting and it looks a bit small and difficult to read. But basically, those of you who are kind of policy nerds like myself and who are familiar with the GDPR will have heard of the concept of privacy by design, which underpins the GDPR. So this basically is inspired by privacy by design. How could something be healthy by design? So we wanted to try and use language that ordinary people use, because something I despise, which is often, I think we've had conversations about it in these Corn Welfare talks before, you know, you have to use the language of funding bids, but that's not the language that people use down the pub and in our communities. So what does health, what does doing well mean? What does it look like? How is this divided into kind of, you know, easy ways that anyone can understand and get on board with and feel like, yeah, that would actually benefit my life if I could do this, if I could have, you know, for example, just picking on the first corner, you know, having work and training opportunities, having something to do for old people, for young people, people being able to earn the real living wage, so that they, you know, are not living in fuel poverty, that kind of thing. This little table, there's a little bit of a story behind this. So and I noticed Sarah's also in the room. Sarah Stevens is the chair of the St Ives Town Deal Board, and I'm sure Sarah will testify that this has been a very busy year, because she's chairing a project like this and coming up with a £25 million bid during a global pandemic, while you already have a full-time job, is super busy. So we've both often been, I think, you know, feeling the pressure of time. So the government had, as is kind of typical with these things, had paid for a consortium of consultants to help facilitate and check and challenge the work of the town deal boards. So if you can imagine this, it's kind of October time in 2020. It's a kind of typical pandemic day when you've got, you know, umpteen phone calls, online meetings, desperately trying to, you know, occasionally do things like, you know, your day job, or brush your hair, or eat a meal, or drink a glass of water. I can see Sarah smiling now. And I was, you know, I had great intentions of preparing a, you know, wonderful presentation for this meeting that we were going to have with this consultants consortium called the Towns Hub, and I was due to meet with a couple of the top health and wellbeing specialists in the country who had letters after their name. I didn't even know what some of the letters meant. This was, you know, going to be my big moment to dazzle them with Camborne as a health town, and suddenly I was like, oh, it appears to be 2:53 p.m. and our meeting's at 3 p.m. and I don't think I've actually put anything on paper yet. Eek. So the chart that you can see in front of you was my, like, oh my goodness, I have 7 minutes to try and explain healthy by design in language that anyone can use. I need to structure this around those kind of 3 pillars of sustainability: the economic, the social, the environmental. I need to explain what I mean, and I need to explain what it would look like if we get the 25 million pounds. So this is my kind of 7-minute wonder, basically. And we went into, sort of pinged it over with about 30 seconds to spare, and then these wellbeing specialists, oh, I really love the simplicity of what you've done here, Anna. It's just, you know, the way it's laid out, you know, it's just really easy to understand what you mean. And I sort of, you know, had another swig of my can of Coke Zero and basked in the glory of of winging it. So what I wanted to do now is to be inspired by the kind of, not the sort of last minute nature of this presentation that I had to do to the town sub consortium, but in the spirit of let's get our thoughts out. We're going to have a short break in a minute, and then we'll move into the breakout rooms. Adam and Katie will guide us through that. But basically, we're going to do a little bit of kind of speed breakout room, 7-minute wonder, in collective inspiration. So what I want us to think about is, when we go into those sessions, is the fact that the choices we make become habits, and the habits we develop become culture. And are they what we want, and are we doing well? And there are going to be 3 breakout rooms. Adam, Katie, ably assisted by Maria, and myself are going to host those breakout rooms and help facilitate them. As you know, I love a bit of brand stickiness. They're going to be themed around those kind of 3 things that I said earlier on are really important to me and make me a plan. So we have a series of fortnightly blogs around those kind of 3 structures that we all work in. So individuals, businesses and communities. So